The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or morning or evening, wherever you are. This is Dan Cook, Director of Business Development here at Nadex. And real quick, can I get a sound and video check? If you could, just in the question box, type in yes. If you can hear me, all good. Perfect. Hopefully we avoid some of the issues we had earlier in the week with the sound going in and out. Um, and you know what, Joe? I was actually just going to address that. Joe just said, hey, we have not received the videos. I asked about that yesterday afternoon, and so wanted to start off by apologizing on that. I was incorrect. I thought the videos were sent out every day following. However, apparently they come out as a package at the end of the week. I think it'd actually be more beneficial to change that up. What's your opinion? I think they should come out, pretty much the day of or the evening of. What do you guys prefer? Do you want them all at once at the end of the week, or would you prefer them sent out every day? You ponder it a bit, take a think, and all right, every day. I think probably the sooner the better. You know what? I agree. I was actually kind of surprised. We used to send them out after each one. That just makes sense, right? Particularly when they're a series like this. So you know what, guys? We're going to change that up. I'm sorry, guys and gals. We've got a lot of people on this call, and it's always great to see. So we will change that up, and we'll make sure that we're getting them out promptly. They do have to go through compliance, so sometimes we can't get them out that afternoon. They never know when I'm going to go rogue and just say something crazy. It happens occasionally. So they do have to go through compliance. So sometimes it takes a little bit, depending on the workload over in that department. But I will have this process changed up. And apologies again for that. I was absolutely shocked when I heard that it was at the end of the week. So we will get that changed up. All righty. Well, with that, let's get started. Today is part 3 of our series. We're going to be taking a look at the charts and some of the tools available there. Quick question from trading: who here is a technical analyst or uses the indicators, drawing tools, price action to analyze the market? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we've got a lot of people. That's good. That's really my background. With fundamentals, I was always, just to kind of give you a little bit. I think I mentioned earlier in the week, I actually placed my first order in 1997. Um, Placed a lot of orders for the next 4 years, and then finally blew up. Well, actually, it was spring of 2000 when I blew up that account, and I really wasn't using anything. I wasn't trading at all. So I've been actually technically placing orders for over 20 years, but I really didn't start trading until about 2001, and really started getting in full time into analysis stuff around 2004. I've never been able to be a long-term trader. I mean, if I'm doing my investing, I kind of prefer somebody else to manage that, right? But when I'm trading, um, I, I kind of want to see what's happening right now. What is price doing? What is it leading to? And we're going to take a look at charts today. And I really started dedicating a lot of time, and I've been very lucky over the last 15 or so years to be able to really travel around the world, work with a lot of both individuals and who were brand new to trading, who often gave me ideas to think about, right? We can always learn from everybody, as well as, seasoned professionals that have been trading 20, 30, 40 years, worked at hedge funds and things like that. And um, they were able to teach me a lot. And I really do believe in technical analysis as a great way. I mean, my typical trade, I think my longest, if I call it actually a trade ever, was 14 days. Typically, it was about an hour and 20 minutes, just to kind of give you an idea where I'm coming from. And not to say that that's right or wrong. I had a guy sitting next to me at my one office who was trading literally the exact same strategy, the exact same patterns, everything. And where I would hold a trade for, sometimes, well, oftentimes for 30 seconds until I was stopped out. But if the trade actually went in my favor, it might last, 45, 50 minutes, an hour, hour and 15. That was kind of on the long end. But he was typically in a trade for a minute or 2 minutes, looking for very quick moves. Same analysis, two different time frames, and we couldn't trade each other's way to save our lives and work together for about 3 or 4 years. I've seen other people use the exact same strategies and be more like a swing trader, where they're holding them on to them for a couple days. Um, so just wanted to illustrate that, because whatever, one thing I love about technical analysis, and we'll talk a little bit more about time frame analysis as we get into this. I'm going to try to dig a little bit deeper today, just on charts, because if you can't tell already, it's something I'm kind of passionate about and have spent a lot of time studying. But you know what? Before we begin, I've already rambled on here a little bit. As we go through this, if you have questions, let me know. And one of the cool things that I do like about the new beta platform is what we're going to be adding to it, particularly from a charting perspective. Got a lot of exciting stuff. For today, we're going to focus on the main platform right now, which is our legacy platform. Before we get going, you've probably seen this now for the third time this week. Understand, trading involves risk, whether that be at Nadex or anywhere else. It's not appropriate for all investors or traders. Uh, and you know what? And sometimes it's appropriate for them, it's just not the right time. So we need to understand that as well. I've mentioned it before, don't trade grocery money. It's the surefire way to lose money. There's too much at stake. If that risk capital, if it's not risk capital, right, just psychologically, it's too devastating. I've seen it happen before. You can throw up all the warnings. Make sure you don't fall into that, right? Take your time. We've got a lifetime demo account here. Work on the strategy. Demos will never teach you how to trade, but they'll give you the mechanics. And so it's very important to understand risk, right? The one thing I am proud of here, I've never had to make a margin call at Nadex. When I was back in the forex world, and I love the forex market, currencies, I've just always enjoyed trading them. But I've also seen I've seen the slaughter fest happen. I remember one day in 2007, if anybody remembers the carry trade, which was an interest rate differential on the currency pairs, when that all unwound, and it unwound suddenly one night in August of 2007. And I think we margined out 15,000 traders that day, and didn't just margin out that we closed their positions. They lost a lot more than they had in their account. And that was back in the days of 100 to 1, 200 to 1, even 400 to 1 leverage. Now leverage is limited in the forex market, so it takes a little bit away, but you still have to understand that risk. The thing I'm most proud of here at Nadex is we've never had to make a margin call. Whatever you put into a trade, that's the most you can lose. Now, that said, right, if you have $1,000 in your account and put $1,000 on one trade and you lose it, yeah, you can blow up your account. But if you have $1,000 in your account, you can never lose 2,000. And hey, thanks, John. I'm glad you like the new platform. There's a lot more coming out on it. So if you're looking at it in beta, and some of the feedbacks we've heard is, well, no, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have this. That's why it's in beta. I encourage everybody, and I'll show you at the end of this, if you haven't seen it yet, how you can get into the new beta platform and give us your feedback. The development cycle on this is so much faster. We've got a great development team, but you all have a big responsibility here as well. Because I know what I want in a platform. Other traders know what they want. We need to take all of this feedback, right? If I have an idea, it might be a great idea for me. I need a whole community out here to help us build the best damn platform we can. So you have a responsibility here. I'll show you where you can get into the new platform, and there's a feedback button right on the platform. So we've got a lot of improvements to make, and kind of getting off track here already. So I'm gonna get going with this, and we can get into the charts. Right. And also, yes, Nadex does own the webinar content. It is subject to copyright. And you know what? So, I mean, actually, if you record it for your own use, I don't think that's wrong. So, but you will get a recording of it. Please don't reproduce it or republish it, distribute it anywhere. If you want to, shoot us an email. I'll give you that at the end as well. Just say, hey, I saw that webinar. I'd really like to use it over here. We just need to give you written permission for that. So with that, what we're going to cover today, we're just going to really look at the charts. I'm not going to bore you with this slide. We're going to talk about all this stuff anyway. So you know what? It's basically an overview of the charts. So with that, let me get the right screen up here. Alrighty, you should be seeing the trading platform now. Oh, I've had this up a little while. Let me go into a binary option trade here, and we'll show you some of the charts. By the way, real quick question. I know binary options are still a majority of our trades. Anybody on this webinar tried out the touch brackets yet or call spreads? Just out of curiosity. I mean, we're going to be looking at a few different charts, particularly on binary options here, but just curious if anybody had tried out those contracts yet. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Lowell. And John, great. That's good to hear. One of the frustrations that I've always had with them, and it's been years in the making, because I mean, I designed the call spreads. They were originally called bull spreads. Back in 2009, I think I spec'd them out 2 years before I was ever at Nadex. And Joe, it's great. Do them in demo only. I encourage everybody to do that. So in like 2009 was when I spec'd out what are now the call spreads. which I think I mentioned yesterday, I think are a great contract. And last year, they basically came to me and told me that what they wanted to create. And so I ended up creating the touch brackets, which we're going to be expanding that product line as well. The frustration I've always had with these, and I'll just actually go into let me just go into a touch bracket real quick. I'm just going to bring up a chart here. We'll get more into this. Right. Okay, so I have this touch bracket out here, but it's just a chart, right? I can't do much from the chart. It doesn't show me where my boundaries are. It doesn't show me the different brackets available. It's not visual. I mean, I can do analysis on this chart, right? Well, I've got some good news. I think something that's really going to help everybody understand them and help, because even me, I mean, I designed these things, right? I know these things inside and out, and if I'm looking at this chart in full screen, unless I have a couple of different monitors and then I go through and I mock them all up, I can't really do much. So in the new platform, you're actually going to see the ranges for the touch brackets and the call spreads. So you'll be able to get a great visual representation of them. So for those of you that are trading them, and it looks like quite a few people, which makes me very happy, we're going to continue to improve those and expand that product line. That's another feature you're going to see coming in the new platform. Actually, it might already be there. I haven't kept up with the release cycles lately. If not, it'll be there soon. Alrighty, so actually, I guess we should get into what we were here to talk about today. Anyway, so this is looking at the charts and some of the tools available. So there are a few different charts available here. And so probably a lot of people are familiar. This is the binary ladder chart, and we'll go through this one in depth. If you move slightly to the right under the More Options tab, right, you can open up an order ticket. Really inconvenient way to open up an order ticket, right? Because you could just click on the line or the bid offer, right? There's a quick chart here. And this to me is actually, if you're new to binary options, oh, you know what? Let me go to a binary option that's been running more than a couple minutes here. So let's see, what do we got expiring? It's 7 p.m. Right. I'm going to go to this quick chart. So what this is, and we'll talk about, you can change this to a line. What this is all of the price movements of this particular binary option since it started. So this is not the underlying price. What this is the price of the binary option. This is where it was launched. So this one was pretty close to at the money when it launched, right? This graph goes between 0 and 100, right? Actually, price only goes between 0 and 100. So this one started out pretty much at the money. And this is a really useful way to see how a binary option price can move. Now, this one is probably pretty deep in the money. It's trading right around a midpoint of 91 now. Eventually, that will go to 100. So if you're looking at how to, if you want to see like what the course any particular binary option happened to take, you can look at that. Sometimes it's really amazing. And you know what? Let me see if I can bring up a 5-minute one here, because a lot of times those are obviously really fast moving. All right, we've just got we've got about 1 minute, 30 seconds here. Let's just see what we see here. I'm going to have to change the periodicity on my chart, and I'll go more into this, because obviously if I have a 5-minute binary option, all right, so actually I'm just going to go to a tick chart. Let's do this. Let me zoom out here. See what I mean? They're moving fast. Let me go back to 1 minute, 1 second here. And let me just scroll back in time. It's moving faster than I can even move my chart. Give me 1 second. I'm going to open up a new one here. Did anybody see that? It just went from 66. Let me, I'm going to change my type here. I'm going to move this to a line. All right, does anybody see that price action? I mean, we just went from 60 to 78 to 75. If you want to see what a binary option looks like close to expiration, this is both a cautionary tale as well as a tale of opportunity, right? If you know that a binary is really close and moving like this, right? I mean, look at that. We just went from almost 80 to 61 in, what was that, a second? Right? They move so fast. And so when we're trading binary options, and it doesn't matter what time frame, we have to understand they're all going to approach expiration at some point, right? This is a really good tool. It's just good you can do it on the 5-minute charts, and it happens so fast. But you can literally see it go from 80 to 20, right? To 0 to 90, just bouncing back and forth. So this is actually the quick chart, and it will give you the entire course of that binary option over that trade. You know what? Let's just see here. I'm going to pick an at the money. Let's just watch one here. So this one's pretty close. Bring this up. Oop. It's my binary option chart here. So what we'll see is how these actually move and how fast they can move. So this one, right, is kind of at the money. The reason I say this is a cautionary tale, as well as a tale of opportunity, I really want to stress the cautionary part. So a long time ago, back in 2008, I was at a firm doing over-the-counter binary options. They were OTC, very similar structure to Nadex. And there were no account minimums. I had this guy, he put in $10 in the morning, and it was like 1:20 in the afternoon, an option that expired at 2. He had $10 in his account. He bought 2 binary options at $2 and 2 binary options at $3. They were on the pound dollar. And nothing should have happened. And all of a sudden the market moved, not even to a great degree by normal standards, but at dead afternoon, market moved and his $10 became $400, right? Now, that might sound great. Unfortunately, I could already tell that was his first trade. He thought it was too easy and lost all of it in the subsequent couple of days, right? But the reason I think this is a cautionary tale is think about if the number of people, well, if you maybe have done it yourself, if you're buying a binary option at 95 because you think it's a sure thing, it doesn't have to be. When you look at something like this close to expiration, you can really see how minuscule ticks can really impact the market. I mean, this price is flying all over. What did we start at? About 47, and we're down to 30, and it's, popping around. So understand that, and understand, if you're getting into a volatile situation, maybe like even not time-based, but fundamental news announcements, right? They're going to move quick, and it's going to be probably better to take a lower risk trade and then set limit orders to get out rather than wait for it to hit 100, right? If you're looking for quick opportunity, you're not looking to go from 20 to 100 or 80 to 20, right? It can happen, but it can also go from 80 to 20 to 90. And if you didn't have a limit order there, you might not catch it, right? If you're trying to place a limit order on this, how hard is that? Like, it's moving all over the place. So just something to be been aware of. John, you're not the only one. He has been there, done that, and it's, you know what? I've seen it way too many times. I've also seen people buy at 30. The market goes all the way up. It's sitting at 96 bid, no offer. And sometimes they'll just let it expire, and sometimes it expires at hundreds. Other times, though, I've seen it just get crushed. And so if you think about that, if you bought at 30 and you can get out at 96, right? That's a pretty good return. Why risk that 66 for another $4 per contract, right? Why not just take it off the table, go about your way? And it just, these are the things that kind of we as traders have to think about all the time. Or if we get into a binary that we bought at 30 and all of a sudden, it's down at 15 and we're like, well, geez, it didn't work out. If we close that trade out, right? I mean, look at this thing. We've gone from 40 down to like 20 something up to the 80s. It's just craziness. But so think about these things as you're trading. And sorry, I'm getting way off track as well. As you can tell, I might be a little bit passionate about trading. But that's that. And so you can check out those charts. I'm going to go back to a little bit longer time frame now, just so we can kind of get in and talk about the charts. Hopefully that was interesting. I don't know. Did anybody know that we had that chart available? It's a great instruction tool. And when you look at like how binaries expire, like at the end, yeah, you know what? I think most people probably don't even realize that chart's an option. And so I really, that's why we do these things. We want to make sure you're aware. The Nadex settlement index chart. That's what we looked at, like on the touch brackets as well. Oh, you know what? Let me change back my chart type and my chart time frame. I'm going to go to candlestick, and I'm going to go to a 15-minute time frame. Okay. And let me zoom this out a little bit here. Okay. So this is the indicative underlying. This is just a blank chart. This is what you see currently when you look at call spreads and touch brackets. Some people prefer not to have the binary strikes, even if they're trading binaries. Some people really love them. So here's the indicative chart. And this is just a blank chart. All the same tools are available. You just don't have the strike prices. As I mentioned in the new platform, you'll see actual brackets for the touch brackets and the ranges for the call spreads. Right? Some people really love this chart. They just want to do their analysis. A lot of times, particularly if they're using multiple screens and they have multiple order tickets out, they'll have a bunch of these charts out there. By the way, real quick, if you are using multiple screens, so there's a couple things you can do with this chart, right? So these little icons right here, either expand or lower it. If you've got multiple screens, and I really won't be able to illustrate it too much, but this little square right here pops that chart out. So you won't be able to see it, but basically I can take it out of the platform then, right? So I could drag it to screens, and then I can look and analyze it, because a lot of times traders, if they're using multiple screens, will want that functionality. Otherwise, it's just stuck right in the platform. If you've just got one screen, no big deal, right? You can always have multiple charts. You just have to be careful of your real estate when you're doing that. And then this chart, when you're looking at a binary option, is the binary ladder chart. And so now we'll take a look at some of the functionality of this chart. What was kind of funny was actually for a long time, and something I want to point out, if I go to this tab real quick, if I go to the charts tab, we used to never have this message here that your open charts will appear here. And so people were just constantly clicking on that. That was part of the feedback, and so we put that message in there. So if you have a bunch of open charts and you want to select one, you can just click on this and select a bunch of charts from the ones you have open. But to find the other charts, right here underneath the charts column, and we'll get in here and we'll show some of the functionality. By the way, if you have any questions on these charts, I like to keep this conversational. If you have questions, whether it be about charts or really anything else I say, I kind of ramble a lot. So, feel free to jump in the conversation. Alrighty. So the first thing we'll talk about is the interval, right? Oh, by the way, sometimes you open up a chart and it looks like this, right? You only have half your strike prices, things like that, right? You can just left click and scroll and open up the chart, right? Same thing at the bottom. So to get to the tools and to change, just left click on the chart. So I'm going to left click, watch the bottom of your screen, right? Everybody see that? I'll left click again, it goes back to the time frame. Left click, it opens up the tools tab, right? So the interval, this is basically the periodicity, right? So if you're using a candlestick chart, I've currently got it set to 15 minutes. So each of those candles is showing the open, high, low, close of that 15-minute period, right? A 5-minute candlestick, open, high, low, close of that 5-minute period, right? If I go to a 1 hour, I think you kind of get it, right? Each one of these is 60 minutes, right? So we can see the weekend gap there. I'm going to go back to 15 minutes. Now, one thing I'm going to recommend for everybody is, anybody familiar with the term multi-time frame analysis? Right? This to me is one of the most important parts of trading, no matter what time frame you're trading on, right? Because some people that are really short-term traders, they'll only look at like the 5-minute or 1-minute chart. Yeah, Joe. Joe's familiar with it. That's awesome. I think this is something, and I can count about. There's been a lot of things that have really changed my trading, but particularly in technical analysis. Look at a longer time frame first. There's a guy, Jim Prince, who I've done a lot of talks with. Great guy, great trader. He often says, if I've made a mistake in my analysis, it's because I didn't look far enough left, right? So here's the thing. If I'm looking at a 1-minute candlestick chart, right, that looks like a lot of information, right? But we're only going back to this morning at 11 Eastern, right? That's all this is. Whereas if I go back to a 15-minute chart, right? So even if I'm trading in a very short time frame, now I'm all the way back to Monday. Now I can look for the week, like where key levels of support and resistance might be. I mean, if I look, and I'll show you on the drawing lines here, but if you notice this line right here, this strike price, this seems to kind of be something where after it broke through, it came up, it tested again, went down, tested again, drop, came back up on, kind of screaming up there, broke through, and now it's dropped. And is this now going to become support, right? That's a theory of support and resistance. What was support, if it gets broken, the market may drop, or excuse me, yeah. If support gets broken, the market may come back up, and then it's resistance, right? Or you can have a breakout. Um, but by looking at a longer time frame, so even if you think, well, I'm just trading 5-minute binaries, why do I need to see this? And if you mark those key levels, right? If you mark those key levels on your chart, so let's say in this 15-minute chart right here, we'll just say that this is, it's obviously not a great one, but we'll say that this strike right here is support or resistance. If we're looking at the 1-minute chart, can we see that, right? So maybe if we're looking at this, maybe we're looking at this as support. Maybe we say, hey, this binary, maybe this is something I'm going to buy. The intraday trend is certainly up. It was screaming up. But I would have never seen this on my 1-minute chart. I really wouldn't have seen this. Now here, and here's a nice thing, right? If I already identify that, it kind of bounces down, comes up, hits it again, right? There's the saying, anybody heard the saying, can't see the forest for the trees, right? If you're looking at a super short time frame chart, you might be missing some of the key levels. And it's always good to know, right? You don't want to run into a brick wall just as you're making trading. And it's no guarantee, but seeing the bigger picture, somebody mentioned, and I've got a lot of questions here already, somebody mentioned price action, right? I want to know what that price has done, not just maybe in the last 5 minutes, but I kind of want to see what it's done over the course of time. And I'm not saying you have to go out to monthly charts or even daily charts, depending on the time frame you're trading. My methodology was always when I was trading FX on Sunday night, I would look at my daily charts and I would look for patterns and I'd look for key levels that we might see throughout the week. And I'd also see where the current level was. And I'd just mock up my chart. The guy I was trading with that I mentioned earlier that was ultra short time frame, he would use a 15-minute chart to mark his levels, typically before his trading session. So he'd kind of see what was out there for the day and then go to the short term. That's multi-time frame trading. So to change the intervals in your chart, you simply click interval, and then you have your selection right down here at the bottom. Hopefully that made sense about the multi-time frame and why you'd want to do it, right? I mean, you could think about it if you're lost in a national forest, right? You might be able to see a little ways around you, right? But what if you had a map so you could see the whole park, right? You'd probably have a lot better idea where you're headed. Same thing when you're looking at charts. All righty. So the next thing is the chart types, right? We've got candlestick, right? Line, high, low, open, close, or most people would know this as a bar chart, or mountain view. I would say probably about 95% of the people I've worked with probably use candlestick charts. If anybody's ever heard of Ikenashi and likes to use that chart, I think it's a great trend indicator chart. I won't get too much into it right now because it's not on this platform, but it is on the roadmap for the new platform, all by request of quite a few of our members. They wanted to see Ikenashi to identify trends. So that'll be another chart type that you'll see, not yet, but probably sometime in the next couple months on that. So if I have my candlestick chart, I can customize. A lot of things on the platform are customizational, right? So if I want to change, let's say, you know what, I don't want green. Maybe I'm superstitious. Maybe I think green things don't mean I can make money, right? Maybe I want to change it to blue, right? I can do that. I can do that. And wow, that's not very attractive. Let's say I change it and I don't like it. I can just click reset to defaults. I don't have to go in and choose the colors, and we're back there, right? So those are the different chart types. I'm actually writing a piece I think I mentioned yesterday on binary option strangle, as well as another one that's in my to-do list for this weekend is on candlestick charts and some, the basics of them, as well as some candlestick patterns that you can use with other analysis. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set up some indicators here. So indicators, technical indicators. On the left-hand side, right, you'll see a whole list. Something I'm going to tell you about indicators, and I'm not going to go into all of these. I'm going to show you how to apply to a chart, but I really want to make this clear if you're trading. Understand what type of indicator you're using, right? Is it a trend indicator? Is it a momentum indicator? Is it a volatility indicator? As a trading coach, I saw a lot of times somebody would say, hey, yeah, I saw these indicators, and they all pointed in the same direction, but the market didn't do that. And I'd look at it and go, well, that's because they're all momentum indicators, all at the same settings. They're, of course, going to give the same signal. I don't believe in using like 15 different indicators. I don't think anybody does. I would say pick out 2 or 3. Make sure that they're not all the same settings and type. You know what? Some I've seen some platforms that, gosh, it looks like something from Star Wars. Um, so understand what type of indicators you're using and what they mean. Are they momentum, trend, um, or volatility type indicators? So I'm just going to apply a couple of um, indicators here just to show you how this functions. We won't go through them all, but RSI. Anybody here use the RSI indicator? Right. Looks like we got a couple people using RSI. Some. You know what? I might be a little bit different. I love the RSI indicator. And this indicator is typically constructed on the theory of an overbought, oversold. It's a momentum indicator. 30 being oversold, 70 being overbought. Um, you know, is kind of the basic theory. So right now, people might say this market is overbought. In which case, you know, somebody might think, okay, it's overbought. I'm going to sell. I'll warn you one thing: it can stay overbought for a long time. Um, right. So I wouldn't use anything just in a vacuum necessarily. Right. And that's why there's multiple indicators, right? I don't believe in having 15 or 20 on the charts. One thing I like to look at, and we'll see if I can find an example of it real quick. Something that's not available now, but will be on the new platform. Right now, and we'll talk about drawings in a minute, you can draw trend lines on the chart, but not on the indicators, which is disappointing to me because I actually like to draw trend lines. I love to use the RSI as what's called trend line divergence, right? Meaning price is going up, but RSI is going down, right? That's trend line divergence. Or RSI is going up and price is going down. And I think it's a great indicator for that. I just wish we had trend lines on them, which we will in the new platform, hopefully very soon. All right. So let me go to this. I'm just going to bring up the RSI. So, all right. I brought up my RSI, right? I can click and scroll. Sometimes I want more real estate. Sometimes I want less. If I want to customize my RSI, the standard setting is 14, right? Right. You can change the colors, of course, right here. But up at the top, you can change the period, right? So depending on your analysis, some people prefer a longer type of RSI indication, right? I'm just going to click apply to this. And we see now we barely got into the overbought range, right? So some people prefer longer time frames. On the indicators, definitely do your research, understand what every aspect of them means. And I'd say work with them a lot. A lot. I mean, this is a lifetime of study when you're looking at technical analysis. So we've got the RSI indicator up there. I'm going to go to. I'm going to put on some moving, some exponential moving averages. Alrighty. So I've got my exponential moving averages up there. Again, customizable, right? You can see I have 3 of them of different time periods, right? If I want to customize that, simply go to where it says EMA, and I can already see I have 20, 50, and 100 up there. Right? I can add actually a lot more lines. It probably just confused the heck out of me. One of the things I like to do, and maybe it's because I'm getting a bit older and don't have as good of eyesight, I actually have kind of thicker lines up. So on your lines, obviously you don't want all of your EMAs to be all the same color, right? Because then you probably wouldn't quickly realize which one's which. So again, if you want to change color, go to the color palette. It's very easy. Choose from the rainbow, basically. It's like a Skittles commercial. Click Save, and then your color is changed. Click Apply. But again, you can add, and you can type it in, change the sensitivity to it. Click Apply. Does that make sense on how to add indicators? I'll add one more here for you. Let's see here. Actually, we just had this guy in the office speaking, John Bollinger, who created Bollinger Bands not long ago. I'll apply those to the chart. Right? Again, if I want to make any updates to it, right? I see Ball 20 and 2. Click on that box, right? And I can change what my period is as well as my standard deviation. The colors on my upper, lower, moving average, and my fill. And just click Apply. Now, if I want to get rid of this indicator, right? And I'll bring it back on. That X right there, I can just go like that and get rid of it. If I want to bring it back, we go to Bollinger Bands. put that on, uncheck it, and it's off. So that's kind of a brief overview on indicators. Let me go to some drawing tools. Alrighty, let's see. So again, click on the drawing tools, right? I can put in vertical lines, triangles, trend lines. So I'm just going to do a quick trend line here. This is not any analysis at all. I basically click, set my point, and then draw my trend line, right? Open it up, go back to this. One of the things that I love, particularly since you're doing technical analysis, and everybody should be doing this, some people really love Excel. If you really love Excel, some people will beat me up on this, as a means to tracking your trade. That's great for you. That's never been for me. One thing I'm going to recommend everybody do on this, and anybody that's caught my other webinars or read my how to do a trading plan will already know this. But when you have your trade set up, and we're going to place an order here in a little bit. Let's say you have your trade set up. You place your trade. Take a screenshot. I can't remember what it is on a Mac, but if you do Control-Alt-Print Screen, take a screenshot of that trade, okay? Drop it into like a PowerPoint document or like a Word. I actually like PowerPoint just because of the orientation of it, and it tends to capture it. But let's just say I placed a trade here. Let's see. So I want to just add a little bit of text to the screen. I'm going to add my text box. Dan's trade that probably lost money. All right. I just add that to the screen. If I want to move it, I can move it around. Right. Take a screenshot. It doesn't take a lot of time. Now, here's the key part to this, and this absolutely changed my trading. Don't just save it in an electronic file. You'll never go back to it. You'll never keep it organized. Go to an office supply store, get a 3-ring punch. If you don't have a printer, you can get cheap printers these days. Get a ream of paper, right? Take a screenshot of the trade when you place it. Take a screenshot of the trade at completion, definitely, right? You know what? Whether you made money or whether you lost money. Drop it into the PowerPoint, print it out, 3-hole punch it, put it in the binder, file them however you like, maybe by market, maybe by, if you're trading a certain strategy. Mine were always filed by patterns. And then I would actually buy a bunch of those little tabs, and I had green and red tabs. I would actually just put them on the edge of the paper. So let's say I was trading the ABCD pattern with fib levels and RSI. Here's my trades from the last week. They're all printed out. What I can do then, and this is so important, and hopefully, I'm sorry, I'm probably running a little bit long here, but I think this is so important. This is more important than learning anything about our charts. What you can do then is you can go back, and because trading isn't about 1 or 2 trades, it's about a lifetime of trading. And by the way, your losses you paid for, you should learn from. It is impossible to learn if you don't have a method to learn from them, right? It's a giant puzzle. And a lot of times it's the patterns within ourselves, not within the market, that determine our success or failure. In almost all things in life, it's the patterns in ourselves. It only took me like 49 years to learn that one. But so when you take the screenshot, right? So I'll give you an example. I went and I took, it was literally about 6 months worth of trades, trading this one particular pattern. And I took all my losses. And one of the things that I found, and this was when I was trading FX, don't have to worry about it, Nadex. While we are going to be adding stops, you never get stopped out if you don't want to. What I looked at was this particular pattern. And what I found, and it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, looking far enough left on the chart. What I found in a lot of cases when I went back and rebuilt that chart was that when I was stopped out by a tick or two, it's because I totally missed a key level of support or resistance. And my stop was sitting basically right on it or right in the vicinity of it, and I was getting stopped out. When I went back and analyzed that, and I went, okay, this is my step. I'm able to learn from that. I think it was something like 32% of my trades that were losers actually would have, and they were just stopped out by a tick or two, would have actually made money and been profitable. I was able to learn from that. That's why I think it's so important. I've got a ton of stories on that, but I kind of want to respect everybody's time. By the way, hopefully you find these little offshoots of the charts somewhat helpful, or at least a little bit interesting. So, all right, I applied my drawing tools, right? I can do my fib retracements, extensions, Elliott waves. I'm going to show you one other thing here, right? So if I click on this, and I can tell that this is highlighted, it might be kind of small on your screen, right? I can see those two dots. If I want to duplicate this, right? I just duplicated that thing. So like if I want to create a channel with my trend line, right? If I'm looking at that, now if I have it selected and I want to delete it, I can simply click delete. One other thing I want to show you here real quick, actually, I guess that's a good lead in. So I'm just going to add, so we've got our indicators up here, right? Maybe we have some pattern drawn. On this show tab, right? If I click show, right? I might not want to just delete my indicators, but let's say I just want to take my indicators off and I want to look just at my drawing. On the show tab, I click on indicators. Now my chart is opened up. If I want to bring them back, I just click that button again. Right? There are a lot of times, particularly if you're using something like a moving average and just where it's residing within price, or if you're using something like a couple of different indicators that are overlaid by price, you might just want to go back to what that price action is. So click on indicators, and it's gone. Right? If you don't want to see the drawings, right, you can take them off, but then you don't have to. It's probably most important for drawings, right? Because you don't want to redraw everything. You might just want them off your screen for a second. You click on that, and they're gone. You can also show high-low open-close data. Some people really love this if they're looking at a certain thing, but for each candle then, I've got the high-low open-close data. I don't really use that one, but I know a lot of people that do. Neither right nor wrong is your preference on visual. All right. So one last thing. By the way, once I get this all set up, if I want to save this as a layout, right, I simply click on layout. I'm going to give it a name, indicator, right? I'm just going to click save, right? So now if I go back here, and I'm just going to take this off, right? I saved my layout. I'm going to go to my layouts. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to go, okay, here's all the ones I did. Now I want to apply it. So all the indicators, I want to do stress, it won't save the drawing tools because drawing tools are all different for each chart, but indicators are all based on the same math, right? You can save it as a layout. Certain people will have strategies, and so I'm just going to go back here, right? So if you have a volatility strategy, if you have a slow market strategy, if you have things that you use for that, right? Here's one I saved. I don't even remember what it is. Yep, it must not have been anything. As you can see, I have a lot of them. Go back to indicator, click apply, right? It's very helpful, particularly if you have several different strategies, right? Also, if I close my chart, I'm just going to open one back up here, right? So the trend lines will save as well. Now, obviously, depending on price movement, if you look at it a month later, it's probably not going to be there, right? Because prices moved so much, the drawing. But you can also still keep big levels of support and resistance, particularly on the longer term charts. All right, so I've been talking a lot. I'm going to go in and I'm going to show how to place an order and close a position from the chart. What I'm going to do is, you know what? We're just going to say, hey, you know what? I think this is going to bounce back up. For those of you that missed it, on the right-hand side, I see my strike prices. The one on top is the offer. The one on bottom is the bid, right? So if I want to sell, I could click on this, and I could click on sell. Now, I can always change the order ticket, right? This I have set as a market order, so I can't change the bid or offer price. If I wanted to change it to a limit order, right? I go to limit order, good deal canceled. Maybe I want to look at the depth of market and see what we have in here, right? So I can do that. The quick way, though, particularly if you're in something that you want to just be in fast and you're using market orders, I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to buy 5. I've got 5 on there. I'm going to place that order. Close. Here's something else I'm going to do real quick, just to kind of clear up the screen. I'm going to go back to my show button. I'm going to remove my drawings and my indicators, right, because I'm in the trade. All right. So I can see actually I have +5, which means I'm 5 contracts to the long side. I've got a floating profit and loss of -$10, and I know it's this strike 110.20, right? So let's say I wanted to close out this position, right? I could do a couple things, right? I'm long, so I could come over here and just hit the sell. The easiest way is, see that flag, that red flag there? I click on that. So if I just wanted to close this out right away, it's going to automatically open up in the other direction, and I can close it out. Now, let's say I just wanted to close off a partial position, right? I'm just going to close off one. Boom. Okay. So I just closed off one. I've now got 4 long from the 5. Let's say, though, I just wanted to set a limit order so that if this binary hits, this binary goes up to, say, 75. That's where I want to sell it. In this case, I'm going to go to limit order. I'm going to say I want to take 3 of these remaining 4 off if it goes to 75. I'm going to click place order. Do you see that gray button now? It might be a little difficult to see over the screen, but that gray button. So I've got 4 long, and now I've got 3 short if it hits X level. If I want to amend this order, I just click on it again. I can say, you know what, maybe I just want get a little bit greedy here, and I want to take it at 78 and a quarter. Click amend order, right? Now, one thing to be aware of. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to say, okay, place order. Here's what you want to avoid, and what I'm going to suggest. Always close your limit orders first, right? That's one thing I would say. If you're going to manually close, or at least be cognizant, you don't necessarily have to do it first, but understand I now have a working order that's not attached to everything. And my position is closed, right? My open position is closed, right? So if the market would go up to 75, that's where I'm going to sell. Now, I might not want to sell if the market's already moved up to 75 because maybe it's going to go to 100. Right? So I go in there and I click delete remainder. Right? And we'll run through one more trade example here. I'm just going to use this one. You know what? I'm going to say let's sell this time. That's sure. If I'm placing the trade, it's sure enough now the market's going to rebound if I sell this order. Right? I'm going to click close. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to set a limit order. Right? I sold, so now my ticket's going to open up as a buy. I'm going to go to depth and I'm going to change it to a limit good till canceled. And I'm going to say, okay, I sold that. I'm going to say I want to take 3 off if the market gets to 20, right? Place order. Just going to close my chart now. So it's on the chart, but also you can see it in your working orders and open positions panel, right? So if I want to delete these, I can do it from either the chart or the panel. And place order. Cool. And that's been kind of a high-level rundown of the charts. And let me get back here to this, because I see I've already talked much longer again than expected. Hopefully did not bore anybody. Really appreciate all the questions and participation. Wanted to give you our contact. So if you have, and I know we got some great feedback yesterday. The person who monitors the Ask Nadex mailbox said that we got several things for other content that you want to see, questions and feedback on the webinar. So if you want to see, we talked about binary options triangle, I'm going to do that. By the way, I haven't done them in a while, but I'm going to start doing the Nadex Town Hall again. Basically what that is a way for me to share a lot of news, what's going on with Nadex, but also to take questions from people just in a live environment. One of my favorite things to do, and it's been a while since I've done it because I've been a bit slammed. Probably be in December. I'm thinking things will slow down a little bit. We should have new education center and stuff launched. You can obviously follow us on Twitter. If you tweet Ask Nadex, I'm not sure who here in the office follows that, but I'm sure somebody does, probably our social media person. Again, have questions about your account, call our customer service group. If you have an account, call our account specialist. We're here to help 24 hours a day through all market hours. So basically from Sunday afternoon to Friday afternoon, you can get all the support you need. And with that, I will take some questions for whoever has them here in our remaining bit of time. And let me just go through because I've got a whole list of things here. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any from anybody. Oh, thank you, Joe. Appreciate the feedback. You know what? Uh, I love doing this. This is actually one of the favorite parts of the job. Let's see. John, I'm not sure. The question is idea when the web in the new platform will be out. We have the new platform in beta, the web version, I think is what you mean. That's in beta. We have quite a bit to add to it, which is progressing really nicely. I would expect from a feature functionality standpoint, it'll be have everything in it that the current platform has from a tools perspective and things like that. So I'm thinking sometime probably around mid-January, end of January. Now the old platform uh, isn't going. The platform we looked at today isn't going away anywhere anytime soon. I know that's a concern for a lot of people. It's tough to change, and um, we're going to be launching some really cool things. Like for instance, I don't know if anybody noticed all the charts we looked at today had a white background, and I've been begging for years. I never traded with a white background. I hate it. It kills my eyes. And when you sit there and look at a screen for 10, 12 hours a day, like particularly like I used to, I prefer the black background, the darker tone. That's going to be coming in the new platform. That's something we want to add. So first we want to get it to feature functionality parity. Um, with the old platform, and then we've got a lot of bells and whistles. I think yesterday we talked about upgraded statements. We're speccing those out where you can see and then you can sort them out. I can't remember if that was Tuesday or yesterday when we talked. All the days kind of run together. So the old platform's not going away anytime soon, but we're going to continue to build out the new platform, and there's going to be a lot of incentive for people to use the new platform. We've had people trading. We've had people literally. Nadex started as Hedge Street back in 2004. We've had people trading, and a lot of people since like 2005, 2006, 2007 that really have been obviously using this platform that we currently have for a long time, um, and they love it. That's what they're used to. But even they're saying that once we get like some other feature functionality built in, and they've been very like I'll say vocal, which is great because we want the feedback on what it needs to do and how it needs to perform. And we seriously collect all this feedback. Now, obviously, we can't do everything that we'd like to all at once. We do have to have a roadmap and a logical progression of things, and some things we can get done quickly. Other things, it takes a lot of time and effort and development resource. But we're always looking to improve that. I often say around here, as we've grown, I was like, we can be happy, but just never satisfied. And that's the real thing. We want to create the best trading experience, and we want our members and traders to shape that with us. That's how we live around here. Looks like I got another question here. Um, as far as my favorite indicators, I mentioned the RSI. I'll mention this right now. There's not a there is not a foolproof indicator. Anybody that tells you that is probably trying to sell you their foolproof indicator. Um, I would say work with yours. Everybody's so different in trading, and I do remember when I first started trading, and actually trading and like learning how to trade. Um, I thought, if I just knew what the pros were using, if I knew what time frames they were looking at, if I knew what indicators they were using, I could do this. I have the discipline. And it had nothing to do with that, right? Discipline is one thing, but just how somebody looks at an indicator, indicators are subjective. One of the reasons why somebody will say, oh, well, that doesn't work. Look at the market a few different ways. One person once told me, you know what, if you think it's a trade, flip the chart upside down. It's a good way to look at it, actually. Um, one other thing that's kind of funny when I looked at my trades early on, I must be bearish by all means because when I actually analyzed my trades, over 80% of the time I was short when I was trading. That's actually opposite of most of the population. When I've done analysis previously, and it didn't matter the market, it didn't matter Nadex or if it's forex or futures. When we're talking about individual traders, not institutions, it's almost an overwhelming number are long. And I don't know why, but it's something particularly when you're using indicators. Think about your own trading style. And that's why I say it's up to everybody to work with it. Nobody can spoon feed you. We can teach you what an indicator is, but you have to look at it and you have to look at it through realistic eyes, right? They're good in demo, but look at it realistically. Don't go back and one of the dangers is always back testing and saying, oh, it worked here, it worked here, it worked here. Boom, I'm in this trade out here, right? It may have, but oftentimes we're just kind of fooling ourselves. We see patterns where we want to instead of, you know, instead of trading what we actually see, we want to trade what we believe. I think I said that right. And and so that's one of the key things. So as far as favorite indicators, obviously I mentioned trend line divergence on the RSI. I spent a long time studying Ichimoku. I think that's a great trend indicator, kind of how it tells a story. Really though, I keep it very simple. I use like support and resistance. I traded a lot like butterfly patterns, Gartley patterns, ABC patterns, triangle patterns, all sorts of patterns using like Fibonacci levels. That was one way that I really enjoyed to trade because it kept it kind of simple. And even without the fib ratios, some people call that, you know, witchcraft. But even without that, if we take that away, if you just look at how a market moves and like a rhythm, in the rhythm, patterns do work out. Patterns are just basically, they may call it swarm theory, right? It's kind of the knowledge of the market. It's basically the psychological basis, and that's why candlesticks have been around for 300 years. It's the psychological basis of the market, just within the case of indicators, represented in a mathematical fashion. And so, yeah, as far as favorite indicators, I'm actually going to be doing, as you might tell, I have a lot of things on my plate. But I am actually, once I get the whole new trading center launched, I'm going to be writing for each of the indicators on the Nadex platform. I'm going to be writing an educational piece on those. Oh, right on. Oh, so John, you're actually really, really on the short-term side, which is great, right? When you find something that works for you, like for me, that would be way too fast. Like I love looking at the 5-minute contracts, but if I was allowed, which I'm not, to trade Nadex, I would actually probably go for a little bit longer. I might do the intraday 2 hour or, you know, something like a daily, but that's just my style. We could probably even use the same methodology, but you could trade it on a really short term. But that's what's great about trading, right? It's very individual. All of us are different. And so we have to figure out how to, you know, what works for us. Nobody else can just give us a package and say, here you go, you're a successful trader. You have to put in the time. Nobody else can do the work for you. And with that, it looks like I'm out of time. If I didn't get your question, apologies. Uh, if I didn't get your question, I do look at the questions after the fact. I get this nice little report that they send to me. You know, it really helps me also when we craft these for the future, like what people are asking. So if I miss you for some reason, I will get an answer out to you. And I will also follow up on getting these recordings out as soon as possible and changing that to getting them out the day of. Right on. I want to thank everybody again for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully it was, you know, useful and educational. That's what we're striving for. Hope you have a great rest of the week and have a thoroughly enjoyable weekend. Cheers.